Let us take a breath together. Let our eyes close. And let us feel ourselves ground down into the earth and into ourselves, into that deepest part of us, into that part of us that is all that we are. And I know from this place of connection that there is only one source. That one source of love, that one source of power and joy and wisdom is ever present all the time, in me, all around me, and through me. I am that, because there is nothing else to be, because that one source is everything. Everything. Everything you can think of, everything that doesn't even exist yet. Everything. And no part of creation is outside of that. So I am that too. And that is true for all of creation, all that are present here, all online, all of creation everywhere. And that love and that power and that joy, we are always being guided by that divine intelligence, always knowing exactly what to do in that place of knowingness. And in that arises that need, that calling, that desire to do and say and become more of who we are. And we are always being called, always being opened into that more-ness, into that more beauty, that more love, that more power. The calling that we have that will bring us into a further opening, a further becoming. And I speak my word that during this time together, that all present, that can hear my voice, that could see me in any way, will know that truth of who they are, of what they are, and what they are becoming. And I am very grateful to know this, to feel this within me, and to know that it is in that spark of divine is within all of us. That we rise up into that. That is our birthright. That is our calling. And in gratitude, I release this into the hands of God, who always says yes, and who is present everywhere. And with that, I say, and so it is.
So this whole month we've been looking at, well, the theme officially is abundance, and I understand the kids are going to be working on that. But we've been actually walking through the first 6 chapters of Emma Curtis Hopkins' Scientific Christian Mental Practice book. So for those of you who want to study that, open up. This is on chapter 6. You brought your books, right? No, and so we first of all started off looking at our vision, naming our good, and then we looked at what's in the way of it, and started to say that is not the truth of me, but the truth of me is this, which is, we call that denials and affirmations. And then last week we looked at faith, and how is our faith? Is it steady in the direction that we want to go? But as we also know, faith without works is dead, yes? And so we can have seeds of a great vision, and we can use denials and affirmations to create healthy mental soil for these seeds to grow, and we can get our faith feeling aligned in a particular direction. But nothing happens in our experience until we activate all this, right? Until we activate all this. See, this candle doesn't just automatically light by itself, does it? It has to have something lighted. It has to have an activity. It has to have an activation. So it doesn't actually just give out light inherently, and I can think thoughts of light, but that's not going to light the candle, right? I have to actually pick up the lighter and go light the candle, yes? I have to activate it with a spark of fire. So we have an inner spark, as Angelina kind of referred to in the opening prayer, that ignites and activates our visions. And we find, if we're paying attention to our visions, that it activates and ignites our inner spark a little more, yes? So if you get a vision that kind of captures your imagination, you get excited about it, yeah? Wow, you're really excited about this, I can tell. Let's have a talk, Someone talk. When you get a vision that captures your imagination, it inspires you, yes? It lights your fire. There's a guy named Jim Morrison who, actually, he didn't write the song. He sang the song, made it popular. His guitar player actually wrote the song. That spark is the spark of love, capital L, love. The spark that says, I love this vision so much that I am willing to do whatever it takes to move it from an inner idea to an outer experience, expression in form. Yes? I love this idea of a vacation in Hawaii so much that I'm going to do something about it. Instead of just sitting there going, wouldn't it be nice? I wish I was in Hawaii. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Will that get you to Hawaii? No. So we have to do something about it. Sam, can you put the chart up there again? This is our last Sunday. We're going to look at this chart and play with this chart. So up until now, we have been in what we call the metaphysical planes of the infinite ideal. At the top level, the ideal of beauty or of love or of whatever it is. And then our individual intuition catching an idea and visualizing it in the imagination, all of which is necessary, all of which is powerful. But until we get involved, inspired, which is a strong emotional feeling, everything remains in the intellectual and metaphysical realm. Maria Nemeth, who wrote the book The Energy of Money, says that oftentimes as metaphysicians we metafizzle because we leave things in the realm of ideas and we don't move them into experience in the physical world. And since we live in a physical world, have you noticed? How many of you are levitating right now? And how many of you are just sitting on a physical chair in your physical body? Yes? Yes? Since we live in a physical world, even if we're not of that world, we are in that world. We are points of consciousness and human physical life through which infinite intelligence is expressing itself in its nature in form. See, the universe, the infinite presence, the infinite consciousness, whatever you want to call it, we used to call it God, right? But I don't mean the big guy in the sky. But that infinite presence expresses in form. Do you know how I know that? There's form. We're in it. We're in it. We're cosmically, galactically in it. Right? So it expresses in form. That's its nature, to express itself into form. Most of us would agree that we like being expressed in form, yes? There's a few people who are miserable and I always say, if you're that miserable and you want to leave the planet, well, get on with it. Activate that vision, But anyway, most of us just would rather be miserable, And I speak, those of you who've been around for a while know that I made 2 suicide attempts when I was a teenager. It's like, yes, but I didn't really want it and badly enough to actually do it. Or I wouldn't be here talking to you, right? Okay. So most of us would agree that we like being expressed in form, yet we judge divine desires moving through us as that expression. We judge our desires to be in physical form. Oh, I shouldn't really want that. I shouldn't really want that lovely piece of chocolate. Or to make Marlisa, wherever she is, happy, there she is back there, this juicy, ripe strawberry in the spring. We're not doing comparisons here. Both are God. I didn't compare. Well, not today. So we actually love having this being in form, experiencing form. It brings us delight. So all of the centuries-old beliefs that we shouldn't desire what we desire, that we shouldn't love what we love, rise like old ghosts screaming at us, go back to the land of safety, play small, be invisible. And they often arise up as we're coming to the point of taking action on our vision. Anybody ever experienced that? I'm ready to do something, and it's like, I don't have enough money, I'm not good enough. So we become then more aware of those mental blocks, and we become more aware of those emotional conflicts in ways that just thinking about our idea doesn't bring it up. In the ways that thinking about what we love doesn't quite trigger it for us. It's not until I say I'm really going to do it that all of a sudden, up come the ghosts. Yes? Yes? Woohoo. I'm using ghosts because, yes, it's Halloween season. So working in the physical realm takes working in the physical realm. Duh. Okay? We can visualize, we can pray about, and we can affirm our lawn being mowed. But it's not until somebody actually pushes a lawnmower through the lawn that it gets mowed, yes? Okay? So we have to actually push the mower. We actually have to do something. Energy has to be expended. So we can talk about all the wonderful things we'd like to do. And we do, don't we? Yep. We talk about. We talk about all the things we love to do as the CSL community, but energy must be expended. Action must be taken for anything to happen in the experience of the physical realm. Yes? Breathe. We can talk about wanting the center to grow and expand as we did back in the January community meeting, but how many of us have actually taken the action of actually inviting someone here? Several of you have. I know you have. Thank you. And this is not, I'm not pointing fingers, okay, but just ask yourself this. Or even more powerfully, have deepened their practice, our practice of the teaching, so that we become so radiant with embodiment of spirit that people are coming to us asking about our glow. What is that about? And we tell them. Breathe. And again, I'm not making anybody wrong here. I'm just asking us to look at what we need to do to bring visions into form. Whether it's the vision of going to Hawaii, whether it's the vision of having a lovely piece of chocolate or a strawberry, both of which are God, equally. Or whether it's the vision of having a wonderful, thriving, powerful community where we have to go to a second service because the seats are so full in the first service that we're running out of room. That's my vision, by the way. I wrote that down a few weeks ago as that's what I would like to see by the end of 2025, just so you know. I hope you'll join me in that vision. And not just, oh, that's a nice idea. A couple of decades back, my second wife and I were moving out of Seattle, and we'd asked a number of people from the CSL community if they would help us move and load up the truck. And they all said, we'll know for you a wonderful, graceful move. We'll pray for you. We'll hold consciousness for you for a wonderful move. And we went and hired a couple of Latin American guys from the local Home Depot parking lot to come and actually help us move. And what was striking was after they helped us, and I took them back to where they had come, we'd done the agreed upon amount of time, we realized there was one large piece of furniture in the back of our storage locker that we hadn't seen before, and we still needed to get moved. And my wife was kind of like, I'm not sure I can move this, and even with me. And as I pulled back from dropping the guys off, I'd seen a van just down the aisle a little bit with a couple people working through their, working in their storage locker. And all of a sudden, as we're just kind of facing this, going, what are we going to do? Okay, well, I'll try and do this. And like that, we get this knock on the door, and here's this, about 18, 19-year-old strapping young man who says, do you need any help with anything? And I say, well, yes, as a matter of fact, I do. And so as we're picking up this piece of furniture and carrying it onto the truck, I look at him, and he's wearing a windbreaker. And right here on the windbreaker is a logo that says Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints. And I go, okay, yeah. The religious scientists will hold you in lovely consciousness, and the Mormons will actually help you move. Now, I don't believe most of what they teach, but they do a wonderful job of family of taking care of and doing stuff like that. And so that's the moving into, and by the way, I have to say that was the only time I had that experience. As some of you know, when I moved here, there was about 10 or 12 people who actually showed up to help me unload my truck, and I'd had about the equivalent number down in Reading when I think they wanted me out of there. No, they didn't. The ones who showed up really didn't want me out of there, but they wanted to love me on the way out, and so who showed up to help me move. But we can't do the move on, I'll just hold it in conscience for you. Yeah. Thoughts and prayers, right? We hear that on our national scene a lot. And it takes more than thoughts and prayers. That's a wonderful starting point. It takes more. So, the other question I'll ask is, does our giving and our pledging embody our love and our commitment to what we want this center to be? So in Matthew, he has Jesus saying, by their fruit you will know them. By your fruits. By what we're actually showing up as. If you want to know what a tree is, you look at, if it's a fruit tree, you look at what's its fruit, yes? I look at my backyard, okay, is that a plum tree or is that a pear tree? The first year I was there, I was like, okay, what is that? Oh, okay, and by the end of the season, it's just like, okay, that's a plum tree, those two are pear trees, and that I'm not quite sure what it is, but it's doing something over here. Yes? By your fruits shall you know them. And then he goes on to say, for it is not everyone who merely says to me, my Lord, who will enter the kingdom of heaven, but he who does the will of my Father in heaven. So it's not what we say. Ernest Holmes talks about this. We can know and speak all the spiritual principles, but until we apply them, until we live them, until we're doing them, until we activate them, nothing really is going to happen. So it's not what we say, it's what we do, and what we do reflects who we are. Who we are. As within, so without. And the Father in heaven metaphor that he uses there is that infinite presence that's inside of each of us. Because heaven is where? Everywhere and within us. The kingdom is down. It's not some after you die place in the sky, by and by. Heaven is right here. It's the infinite presence within each one of us. Our most powerful calling and work is to embody and to understand and embody the divine nature. Ernest Holmes says, all evolution, all unfoldment is from within out. There is already something within us which we must accept, which unfolds, and by a series of the processes of gradual awakening to what is, becomes what it awakens to. We awaken to, this vision starts within us. See, in a way, that chart is it should start from here and go out, yes? Kind of flip it upside down. And so, that vision wants to become its own nature, and all we have to do is say yes and allow it to move through. And it should be easy, yes? But then we get these mental blocks and these emotional conflicts that are in the way. Anybody beside me? Yeah, okay. When we understand this, that there is already within us a nature that is, through gradual evolution, seeking to express its nature in form, because the infinite, as we said, takes form, expresses in and out as form, we understand that our work is to say, we say yes to that infinite nature seeking expression uniquely as us in what we call our lives, which are really the life of the infinite individualized as us. See, you're not really you. You're God experiencing itself as you. Take that in. We are God experiencing itself as us. We are the life of the infinite individualized. And this process would be easy and flowing again if it wasn't for our messed up ideas about God, humanity, their tribe, our tribe, love, material form, strawberries and chocolate, and all that stuff, which we're being called to clear out of our own individual and the collective consciousness at this time. Got that? As we work through our stuff, we're working through ages-old stuff that has been haunting the world for millennia. What an exciting time to be alive. So you are part of the unfolding evolution of spirit in human form. We don't have our issues. We embody issues from the ages-old collective mind. Take that in. We are just individualized points where those ideas show up. We don't have our disease. If you're ever sick, don't refer to it as my cold or my cancer or my whatever. It's not. It's not yours. Trust me. We don't have our disease. We experience an embodiment of the ages-old human ideas about the reality of disease and aging and all that stuff. Breathe. And again, what an exciting time to be alive, because we live in an age where we can look at all these old superstitions and ghosts in the face and say, you're not reality. Get out of here. Be gone. And not get burned at the stake or ostracized completely for saying it, or stoned to death. Last night we had a whole bunch of witches in the room out there, and not one of them was in fear of being killed. We had a Halloween party for those who weren't here. And while there are many who are still attached to their beliefs in the old ghosts and superstitions, there are a growing number of us willing to do the work of studying the light, the spirit, and its nature of life, love, and good, and being willing to embody that. And because of that, shifts are happening. Much of the chaos and the divisiveness we see in the world, much of this stuff, is really the pull towards those who are going towards the real nature of spirit, being resisted by those clinging to old, comfortable, certain beliefs and superstitions and ghosts. That's really what we're looking at out here. Yes? I hope you understand that. What's that? Yes. The conflict, the division that's happening in the world basically is new ways of being that are more highly evolved spiritual ways of being in conflict with our millennia-old ideas of how life should be. Does that help? Okay. So our work then is twofold, and in both folds, it is love. Our work is love, is to love and to be loved. First, to be compassionate. You know, if you're on social media, you notice there's a whole lot of judgment of everybody else going on, yes? Okay? Oh, those people are, stupid or whatever, etc. I won't get into the names. But we have to understand that we were once ignorant. And we have to understand, sorry to break this to you, we are in many places still ignorant. That's you, that's me, that's the most enlightened person you know in your life. We're still in our own lives ignorant. Ernest said there are beings as far beyond us as we are beyond the tadpole. Think about that. There are places, points of evolution that we can go to, that we will go to, that are as far beyond what we know, the highest and best we know now, as we are above the tadpole. And we want to be loved and encouraged and accepted, and accepted like growing children. You don't look at your 9-year-old and go, you're really stupid because you don't know how to drive a car. In fact, I would look at my 9-year-old if they were trying to drive the car and say, let's talk about that. You're not ready yet. Yeah, at least down on the on roads, right? I'm not talking about if you live out on a farm, but But we don't criticize our children. So we don't criticize the children within us, and we don't criticize the children around us who are in the process of evolving. We hold them and ourselves in compassion as we grow. So that's the first aspect of it. As we unfold, judging, criticizing, and such is actually just further practice of the old ways. I watch people who sit there and put on Facebook mocking things about a political candidate they don't like, who they don't like because that person mocks and puts down other people. It's like, you're doing the same practice. Stop it. I was sharing with somebody yesterday, when I was involved in personal growth seminars back in the 80s, there was a person who down in Los Angeles who ran the office, and I had the same birth date. We were literally the same birthday and year. And he had been during Vietnam, he had been a captain or whatever of a paratroop unit. And he had a picture on his wall of his paratroop unit. And they were all looking macho and tough. They were against a wall that had studs and things coming out of it. And they were standing around on up and down all over these studs and just looking really tough. And I looked at that picture, and for the first moment I had a judgment, and then I said, if you took a picture of me at the same time with my hair down to here, and my friends who were all opposing the war in Vietnam, we would also be angry and tough in a different way. We were all making war. Even those who were making war on the war were still using the same process of making war, judging, criticizing, and making wrong. None of that supports what we really wanted, which was peace, which was harmony, which is wholeness. So we have to be aware of how am I approaching this, and so we approach it with compassion. That's our first aspect. That's the first thing that we have to do. And then our second call is to stand in that love of the divine nature, seeking expression through and as us so that we can be simultaneously compassionate, yet firm in our understanding and, importantly, our practice of that divine nature in our own lives so that our fruit is the fruit of love. That's our calling. Whatever it is that we think we want, that's our calling. And I don't care if we're trying to manifest a car or a new home or a relationship or peace in the world. It's all the same process. Can I love this into being? Can I actually activate it? Can I actually take the action that I need to in human form and listen to the wisdom of the divine moving through me to say, what is that action? And not let my reaction and well, this is how we've always done it. We've always gone out and gotten in people's faces or whatever, to step back and say, that hasn't worked. For a lot of years, that hasn't worked. What will work? What am I being called to that's higher and better and more graceful than that? So this week, our spiritual practice is to simply revisit the question we've started in the very first week of this month with, which is, what would I love in my life? What would love to express through and as me is another way of taking that. What is it that's being called forward with me? And then to commit and take action to allow it to flow. We don't have to make it happen. I'm going to go out there and, no, that doesn't work. How many have tried that besides me? It doesn't work in the long run. You just get exhausted. You usually don't get to what you want. So we commit to take action to allow it to flow through us into form and experience. And let the light of divine love express through you. Are you willing to play with that practice this one? Yes. Great. Thank you. I would love to have you, and I would love to do that also. So I want to close with a quote from Emma Curtis Hopkins from Scientific Christian Mental Practice. All that is true, capital T, true thought, demonstrates health, goodness, and peace. That's our true nature. That's our true nature. The rest of it is the activation of old ideas. That which demonstrates otherwise is the shadow of true thought, the Adam mind, as in Adam and Eve, the Adam mind, claiming to be real, but never really real at all. She has a premise that says the Adam mind is the old human mind, and in her mind, the Jesus or the Christ mind is the new light that's dawning through us. And we are all Christ in consciousness. It's not that one guy 2,000 years ago. If you walk down the streets of Galilee back then and say, hey, Mr. Christ, he wouldn't know what you were saying, even if you could speak Hebrew. That wasn't his last name. Jesus wasn't actually his name. That's a Greek translation. So, she says, the Adam mind claiming to be real, but never really real at all. So take now a right premise and contemplate it until the light of understanding breaks over and through you. Meet the world with your own free independence of thought, able to make nothing of its worst appearances. It's shadows. How many of us are truly afraid of shadows? But sometimes they look scary, don't they? And so she's saying, stand in that light, stand in that truth, and make nothing of the shadows. So we have an affirmation. I'll invite you to say with me. I am a perfect creation of the living God, spiritual, harmonious, fearless, free. I reflect all the universe of good. Let's say it one more time and really take it in. I am a perfect creation of the living God, spiritual, harmonious, fearless, free. I reflect all the universe of good. And so it is. Thank you.